Well, good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you are watching us. Welcome to the Humble Hang. I'm your co-host, Ritesh Patel, here with my dear friend, Suchi. Say hi, Suchi.
Yeah, great. Well, it really is a dream to be able to do this with you. I know we've been talking about it for a long time, but finally it's happening. Yay.
Yay.
And yeah.
And our inaugural guest, Grace Cordovano, our dear friend Grace, who we've known for years, who does some amazing, amazing stuff. So we could think of no one better than Grace to start off this Humble Hang series that we're starting off. So welcome, Grace.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here, and I am so excited because let's change the world, guys. I love this tagline that you have going.
Thank you. Yeah, Suchi came up with it. It had
Absolutely.
nothing to do with me, so you know.
I feel like it's an extension of the work that we've been doing for a while. And Grace, thank you for coming back. You've been such an important part of all the conversations that we've held. So, and doing such incredible work, truly to hopefully help move the needle for humanity forward in the right direction.
Thank
Um, yeah, no, with that, it takes a certain kind of person to completely dedicate your life
Yeah.
to what you're doing. Can you maybe take us back to how you got started and you still continue to show up with the same determination every single day? Like, what does it take to be you?
you know, it's been a series of stepping stones as I look for it. It wasn't any single thing, but it always goes back to the fact that I didn't speak English as a child. My family's from Poland. We didn't speak English at home. I started kindergarten and learned very quickly that life was a lot harder when you don't speak English at school. It took a few years of ESL, but once I got the hang of it, I became the 10 or 11-year-old that was navigating US healthcare for
Mm.
immigrant families, my local community, my neighbors. My parents invested in an encyclopedia and a dictionary, and that's actually what I did for fun. I would sit and read. I grew up in poverty. We had nothing, but I had an encyclopedia dictionary, and I loved my library card. And all I did was translate notes, prescription bottles. I would go to appointments because there was no translator. Fast forward, my first job in high school, which paid $9 an hour, which was bad.
Oh, you were rich. Look at that.
I had medical records, and this was when HIPAA first came out. I was trained and I learned about the sanctity of what was in the medical record at a very high volume local surgery center. And it became a trusted place where I now navigated patients, families, parishioners, community members to go and get their cancer care. Filed thousands and I always had band-aids on my fingers when I went to school because of the paper cuts. And had to process a lot of medical records requests, really became astute in faxing, using a pager to page the doctors to sign off on requests, and was also on the receiving end of many tears and anger, angry phone calls, in-person things when the requests were not processed. The next thing that really was pivotal was probably advocating for my mom to go for her first mammogram. And
Mm.
she came back with an aggressive breast cancer diagnosis. So
Oh
in
gosh.
college at that point, my family, being an immigrant family, always prized US healthcare for innovation coming from
Yeah.
Poland. So I remember going to the infusion appointment with my mom, and the oncologist started rattling off all the side effects and said that this wasn't a cure. And I was so confused and overwhelmed. I actually fainted. I actually went to the restroom, had to pull that emergency thing.
No.
And they were all annoyed. The care team and doctors that came over, to see what the emergency was. I said, please, can I just have water and lay down? They said, that's for our patients. And they just left me. And I get it. They had a very full infusion clinic. That experience and navigating that cancer diagnosis for my mom is a survivor, knock on wood, propelled me to go to grad school to understand why there's no cure for cancer. And boy, did I learn a lot and how complicated it was. My background's a PhD in biochemistry of metabolic disease. As I was getting ready to defend my thesis, I was hospitalized for an abdominal injury that I got at the gym. Apparently, doing pull-ups while hanging, hanging sit-ups while hanging from a pull-up bar is hazardous to your health. So I
Ooh.
and they
Ooh.
caught the base of my lung, and there was a nodule in my lung, and they said, there, it's probably fine. Just follow up on it when you're feeling better. As a good little patient, I did that, and it turned into a 4-month roller coaster ride through Sloan Kettering. I initially was told that I have advanced lymphoma. I, on a PET scan, I lit up like a Christmas tree.
Oh.
care team wanted to start treatment right away, and I knew enough because of the work that I'd done to that date to get a copy of my medical records and get a second opinion at Sloan. 4 months later, after countless biopsies, imaging, blood work, video-assisted thoracic surgery, and waking up in isolation after surgery,
Wow.
I was told by my surgeon that she doesn't get to do this often, but this is not cancer, but we don't know what it is. Stayed in isolation for 3 more days because they thought it was tuberculosis, but it turned out to be a fungal infection I got on my honeymoon called histoplasmosis, which does not need treatment. Now, a very long answer to your question, but the pivotal point for me was walking in the recovery of the ICU. And the patients are asking, what do you have? What kind of cancer do you have? And I have chest tubes and hanging from me. And I said, I remember feeling shame and I was so embarrassed as to why was I spared and I didn't have cancer? Why wasn't it the mom with the 5 kids?
Wow.
Why wasn't it the grandma trying to get to her son's wedding? And I carried that with me. So for whatever reason, I was spared. While I was recovering, I read in a newspaper an article about patient advocacy as a profession, and it was as if all my stars aligned at that point. So I took some business, took some finance, because they don't teach you that in grad school.
Hmm.
Opened my own patient advocacy practice where I work with patients and families to help them navigate cancer, attending appointments, and the entire spectrum. But it's also turned into quite a bit of speaking engagements, policy work, and other consulting work that I absolutely love, including work that is called Cancer X, which I hope to tell you more about later.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, just hearing your story there, it just shows that you have to advocate for yourself, right? It's not a given anymore. It's like you. I treat the professionals I deal with as the experts, whether it's legal or health or whatever, right? And you build that trust. But for some reason in healthcare, we're starting to question it a little bit and saying, look, I've got to advocate for me because I'm not sure you've given me the right thing, which is fascinating, really, isn't it? Comparatively.
Well, just to follow up, I guess, because you both are, I would say, kind of deep domain experts in the space. Have you, in your journey of however many years it's been, have you seen it change a whole lot, or do you think we still continue to struggle with the same things that we started with?
Waiting for you.
Yes.
Where I see the most change is how
Yeah.
easily we have access to our health information and
Yeah.
medical records, thanks to the work of the Office of the National Coordinator, who has been tirelessly
Yeah.
working to make sure patients have access. So that makes it easier. And then, of course, the appearance of open access LLMs, where now any individual can go and process and analyze and explore with curiosity their health information. That's a huge transformational inflection point that I think makes a difference, but a lot of the friction points are still there. We still have a lot of work to do to change the world.
I think that the difference for me has been, and Grace, I think I met you when you had just started. It was at the New York Hilton, if I'm not mistaken. You came for a conference I was speaking at, I believe, and you had just started out. And I think not much has changed there from a delivery of care or all of the friction points that we have in getting care. But I think where we've made monumental changes is in the ability for patients to do more by themselves. You look at the wearables market and the data sets that we can get ourselves now, right? Combine that with, what you just outlined, TEFCA and HIPAA and the open interoperability of data, where our friends at OSTP? Yeah, they've done a good job of getting that done. But I think on the delivery of care side, we still have a lot of problems. I think, we're still doing the same stuff with technology.
Yeah, well, hopefully the patient empowerment will move the
Yeah,
needle.
exactly. And I think, the research side of it is the fascinating bit, because now you've got access to all this data, right? You've got new companies propping up using AI as a way of doing research into things that we never would have thought about.
Mhm.
And I think that's where Cancer X comes in as well, right, Grace?
So Cancer X supported Biden Cancer Moonshot, and at this point now we're just approaching launching our 4th cohort for the accelerator program and the application process. It's been wildly successful. It's an incredible, robust ecosystem of everyone that's so passionate, genuinely touched individually, personally, professionally by cancer. And the energy and the momentum there is really what's exciting, and the depth that people are willing to go to. And I think the collaboration, multi-stakeholder collaboration to really move the needle. And I think that really is something that I've noticed for 2026, this alignment piece. So much good work is being done, but it's often running in parallel as opposed to how do you align? And you really need to align every stakeholder if you're going to collaborate and move things forward to change the world.
It was initially a White House thing, though, right? If I'm not mistaken, it came out of an initiative many years ago, and now is it a separate thing now? Give us a little bit of background on CancerX.
Sure, absolutely. So again, Biden Cancer was reignited, and CancerX was one of the programs supporting the goals to reduce cancer mortality by 50% in 25 years and to improve equitable, quality, affordable access to cancer care, no matter where you are for all patients. Now we've evolved over the years and we are a consortium model. We have currently Advocate Health and Moffitt collaborating and leading the charge, and we have over 200 member organizations,
Oh, okay.
federal partners, the Office of the National Coordinator supporting and has been a great partner throughout all of this, as well as an initial co-founder when we first started CancerX.
Mm. And it's an ecosystem of people, I guess now, right? So patient advocacy groups are involved, are they?
Yes, we actually, I'm very excited to announce, launched an application process for the CancerX National Patient Family Advisory Council.
Ah,
So my work there as CancerX Fellow is to represent the patient care partner voice throughout the portfolio of work that we do. And there's clear gaps, and it's not just the health systems, it's not just cancer centers, it's payers, it's pharma, it's life sciences, it's investors, it's compliance, it's cybersecurity. And we're piecemealing at best or tokenistically approaching how we include patient voices, if we include them at all. But this is also bigger than patient voices. We need patient voices, care partners, caregivers, adult cancer, pediatric cancer, and including those who maybe cared for a loved one and their loved one has since died, surviving care partners, caregivers. So we're looking to have diverse representation of voices in a structured form and format on a national level that can advise the entire ecosystem of oncology as we work towards a national digital oncology infrastructure in the United States.
That's incredible.
so one question is, Grace, your passion is amazing. You always amaze me on the patient advocacy stuff. Have you thought about the toll it takes? Because you just triggered that thought in me on the caregivers. Because I think a lot of times when you hear the word cancer as a diagnosis, as the patient, I think your mind just goes all over the place. But the caregiver now has to take all this on, right?
Yeah, I'm getting chills listening to you because I have just flashes of family members that I
Right?
can support and what they're going through. Like people are no
Yeah.
longer afraid of hell if there
Yeah.
is one,
Yeah.
because they're walking through it and
Yeah.
trying to balance receiving a catastrophic diagnosis and then trying to wade through the administrative burden, trying to make sense of all of the data, trying to make sure that you're following clinical guidelines. And then what if there's a relapse? What if there's treatment failure? What if there's side effects? And of course, all hell always breaks loose on a Friday night or on a weekend when there is a
Yep.
doctor or nurse in sight over a holiday. And what do you do now? What do you do next? And that's why I think having the access to the medical records as well as an AI-powered tool, as well as a support group, and of course, not trying to go around the doctor, but the reality is this is a full-time job and a half with overtime unpaid. And it's the caregivers and care partners that are carrying the brunt of it,
That's right.
do everything for their loved one.
Yeah. It's the parents, the partners, the kids, in some cases, kids who are taking all that on, right? Like
So
you did for your mom.
Yep, absolutely. And I think I have a special place in my heart because when I work with immigrant populations, it's teenagers that are caring for their aunt
Yeah.
Venezuela, their parents, because they're the most English speaking, they're the most digitally savvy, and we don't innovate or even include that population. And how do we get innovation, for example, into high schools or schools that talk about clinical trials? My gosh, I could talk to you guys about this for hours because these individuals want the best care for their loved ones, and we're just not reaching them with the right information.
Be done, what can I, we sit and we talk about all this, and we've done many conferences together where we've got you on stage talking very passionately about this, but there's got to be some other things that we can do in this new modern world that we're living in. You mentioned AI. Are you guys at CancerX looking at those kinds of tools? to say, hey, could we use these kinds of new capabilities to educate or to engage or to provide some sort of tool set to people like the immigrant population, for example?
Yeah, just quickly layering on that. If you were to use, for instance, from at least what we've heard you speak, Grace, and thanks again for everything you do and how you show up, it seems Cancer X seems to be a good playbook, like successful so far. Where do you see the gaps still exist? And if we were to use it, perhaps to replicate it in other areas of healthcare, like what would you say are the biggest learnings and in the process?
We try to be very intentional with how we concentrate our efforts at Cancer
Mhm.
X. And I'll share, for example, in our accelerator program, we don't just do an open call for applications and see what sticks. We do quite a bit of legwork with our champions, with mentors, with our members, and we also include Patient Family Advisory Council voices in what we call theme development, for example. So we
Mm,
select themes and we try to listen from every stakeholder's perspective. What are these friction points? Because there's no shortage of them. And then we try to crystallize into intentional themes. So last year for our accelerator, we had 4 different themes. For example, clinical trial acceleration, operational efficiency, how to bringing quality care from a center of excellence to the home, and addressing financial toxicity and aligning payers and providers. So those were our themes, and that's where we sourced, and we had a wonderful response of applications. We're going to repeat that process again this summer before we announce our cohort. So that's just for our accelerator program. But the beauty of Cancer X is it's more than the accelerator. And I'll channel Dr. Rasu Shrestha, who so beautifully said once, it's the intentional collisions. I love that.
that's
So
a great phrase. Russ is really good at stuff like
Oriented.
this.
so good. So
Yeah.
good. So it's the intentional collisions of what happens. And when everyone comes together, we do a number of events throughout the year in person. The depth of the conversation, like they literally have to go and shut the lights off and be like, guys, your event is over.
Yeah.
And the
The staff have gone home, the
Yeah.
seats are on the table. Yeah.
go in the weeds in these conversations about how to collaborate, how to fix this, what can we do, exchanging numbers. My heart is so full when I leave there. And it's
Mm,
not just talk because I see the momentum and the work that's being done. So I think going to your point is the friction points is one thing. We're not here to admire a problem. We're
mm,
here to make sure that we get the right people in the room around a real world problem. So we're aligning not just on a hospital problem or a payer problem. This is a real problem that we're seeing for patients and families. It's also a problem for other stakeholders. How do we align? How do we solve? How do we streamline? I'll give you an example. We have a cybersecurity mark. We noticed that it was taking an extremely long time for startups to get through the cybersecurity process at a health system, approximately 18 months.
yeah. At least 2 years sometimes. Yep.
So we've shortened that down to 3 months.
Wow.
Matters because if you think about pancreatic cancer,
You only have 3 months sometimes, right?
right, we don't have time. So we try to look through the lens of time means lives.
Oh dear, so much to unpack there. But there's one thing I want to double click on. You mentioned financial toxicity. For folks that may not be familiar with the term, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Great question.
Yeah,
And
including me, by the way. I was going to ask the same
Yeah.
question. So
well,
there you are.
I think this is a great opportunity to do some myth busters in that when
Yeah.
people think
Yes.
about financial toxicity, they immediately think, oh, are vulnerable or the unemployed or the poorest of the poor.
Yeah.
And it's no one is really safe from financial toxicity. Many families may start with dual income, multiple income
Mhm.
families. And slowly but surely, as the illness progresses and treatment side effects and treatment failure and hospitalizations, you may go down to a single income to no income because Ritesh, your question and comment about the care partner and the caregiver,
Yeah.
they have to take off because we don't support any individuals that are so sick and becomes a full-time job. And
Yeah.
these treatments come in and the bills are not hundreds of dollars. We're talking tens of thousands,
Thousands.
hundreds of thousands. The highest bill I've ever seen come in the mail on a Friday was a $2 million bill to a nursing student that received proton radiation therapy.
Whoa.
The audacity that we think that we can send a bill of that scale casually into a mailbox to someone unsupported is beyond me.
That is incredible.
Wow.
That I'm stunned. $2 million to a student. That is craziness.
Who
Absolute
has student
craziness.
loans.
Yeah, right?
Student loans. So yeah, a lot of work to do. So financial toxicity is recognizing that cancer doesn't just come with treatment-related side effects. It financially impacts the individual in many ways, and it also can be
Mhm.
generational impact in that
Yeah.
families borrow savings and they may have children, they may take from college funds, they may remortgage a home, and when someone passes from cancer, that debt and those consequences move towards the rest of the family needing to handle them.
Really begs the question of, what price is a life? It's a
Yeah.
sad situation to have to be in. I remember doing some work. We were launching a cancer product when I was at Ogilvy, and the same conversations. I remember we had some patient stories we wanted to do. So the team went to Florida to meet some people and interview them. And they came back just like they had no idea. One couple retired to Florida, had $2.5 million in the bank, were doing pretty well. Wife got cancer, the father got cancer. So now they're both impacted. And a year later, they had to declare bankruptcy, right?
That's
It's
part of
Yeah.
the
crazy.
work that I do is
Yeah.
helping people set up a GoFundMe and how do you find a pro bono attorney that can help you
Mm,
with bankruptcy.
mm, mm. Madness.
Wow.
So, going back to the whole innovation thing, you triggered a thought in me when you talked about the accelerator. We're really talking about sort of pragmatic, thoughtful ventures that you can bring in. It's not just anybody can apply. How does, for people listening, and if you're, somebody as I work with a lot of startups, as you know, as we do at South by, how do people know more about this, get to learn more about it and be, say, propose being part of it? Or do you get invited or do you submit?
Oh my gosh, come follow us at cancerx.health.
Okay.
Come in, take a look at the website first of all. All of the information is there. However, reach out. There's a number of CancerX members on LinkedIn. Send us a DM, send us an email. But the process is if you feel that you are in those themes and you're passionate about changing the way that we care for people living with cancer, care for families living with cancer, and want to improve the process of treating patients with cancer, submit an application. And if that's not a fit, reach out. We are supporting as many people as we can, answering questions, pointing them in the right direction, as well as making connections and intentional collisions within
Mm.
the
Mhm.
ecosystem.
I suppose one of the areas that you probably should or have, I don't know, is you've got all of the ecosystem players. Do you have also the capital players, the people who could provide capital to these companies to sort of back something?
We are so fortunate to have a number of organizations and investors
Ah, okay.
that have been part of our network, who are not just standing by and kind of observing, advising, part of our mentors, come to the events, come to judging. So, yes, we definitely have a strong presence there that we're very grateful for, who also even sponsor events and different types of engagements. So yes, we definitely encouraging all startups in oncology, come take a look because there's a lot of exciting things happening with CancerX. We just had our accelerator graduation in Charlotte at the Pearl. It was a probably our most well-attended event, and the feedback that you're getting from people in the audience, you could hear that the caliber of the startups that are presenting and pitching and the solutions are just mind-blowing. And we look forward to welcoming the next cohort in.
Where's that part? I remember when Santosh went down there, he was all excited about it, but I hadn't heard anything back. They've really done a good job, I hear. Is that right?
Oh my goodness, if you don't join Cancer Racks, well, one way or another, this is going to be a plug for the Pearl because take a summer trip, take your family there and
Really?
take a tour. It is brilliant. I had the privilege through Cancer X to go and visit last year with hard hats on as we were looking at it come
Yeah.
it through the final stages, getting ready to open. And now it is exceeded any and all expectations.
Mhm.
It is one of the most, I'll share with you both, you'll appreciate this because you know the team that has been the brains of the operation. It is so authentically, carefully, meticulously, intentionally designed. There isn't a detail that was missed. There is empathy and community woven into every step of the journey, every floor. It's almost too perfect.
Amazing.
It embraces the cultural roots of the community and has woven that in. And it's not just what's happening inside, it's the education and the information and the influence that's going back into the community on opportunities, especially even supporting schools and the
Yeah.
educational programs and how they're educating the future of medicine and colleagues in medicine and surgery with the most innovative of techniques. Highly, highly recommend the trip.
Amazing. Sounds like something's really come to
Yeah.
fruition, right? Maybe you
Yes,
need something like
yes,
this
it's
in
going.
Silicon Valley, Suchi. Come on.
Yeah, I know. We absolutely, man.
Come to
Yes,
the East
yes.
Coast. Come to the East Coast.
There you
Yeah.
go.
No, that sounds incredible. Again, thank you. So, Grace, from hearing you speak, it feels like one of the most critical missions is to bridge the gap between innovation and reality, to kind of feed that feedback, if you will, back into what the innovators are building. So it's actually something, it's
Mm.
solving for something that's really needed. Is that, would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely. We have to be intentional in understanding what people's problems are within their local communities. And if
Mm-hmm.
they're real problems, instead of just taking data and saying, oh, wait, we have the data, let's find a problem that we can solve. That co-creation and that longitudinal relationship is really important. But also when I look at what we're solving for, how do we work together? How do we work in lockstep? And I'm very frustrated when there are solutions. I've had solutions come out of the accelerator that are wildly successful that I'm recommending to patients and families. I can't get health systems to adopt them. And
Mm.
it may be something very simple. And the
Mm-hmm.
pushback I get is we don't do it that way. And I
Mm.
understand, but when there is a life on the line and those sands of time are running, we have to find a way so that there's a culture and an adoption of innovation that not every health system is ready to walk the walk. And when you talk about being patient-centered, does that mean finding a way or only doing it your way?
So how do we meet in the middle, right? Because healthcare systems have been doing things for a long time a certain way, and then there's new wave of like innovation. Like, is there somewhere in the middle that they can meet so it's a win-win situation at
Uh,
the end of the day for all the key stakeholders?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's Cancer X. We have the health systems, and I'm very privileged to do the work that I do in that everyone listens intently to the patient and care partner voice. And we're finding ways to collaborate and work together. And I think streamlining this implementation and commercialization at scale process from inception with understanding what patients, care partners, caregivers' unmet needs are makes a whole heck of a lot of difference than anyone working in silos. And it also gives me an inside look as a patient advocate. Who are the systems that are really ready there to roll up their sleeves and say, yeah, we're open to innovation versus those that may just have an innovation role, but would never accept any innovation that a patient may come in and demand because innovation can't just be top down. We have to be open from the bottom up because patients are bringing things. Not everyone is receptive to that. And I get it. There's processes, but to your point, what's the middle ground? And if you don't want to be middle ground, that's great. I'll go somewhere else. I'll take my
Mm-hmm.
loved one and myself somewhere else because there's plenty of places that can deliver really good care. But what happens when you hit metastatic and stage four? Stage four needs
Yeah.
more. And who's ready to do that?
I suspect, the founding members like Moffat can showcase some of this stuff, right? So if you pilot it there first and they're showing it off and doing it, then others will come and learn and hopefully take it on as well, right? So that's one way of getting it done, I suppose, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have plenty of patients that are seen at Advocate and Moffitt. They have been exceptional partners. And I
Yeah,
will point out, shameless plug, they
Yeah.
also have really exceptional patient family advisory councils. They
right.
are doing and the whole, walk the walk of including the patient and care partner voice and then some. So everyone else that's listening, pay attention. I know not everyone is well resourced enough to do it, but there's a lot of good work happening there that can be modeled and implemented other places.
Last question for me, as we sort of come towards the end of this, Grace. There's a new generation of oncologists coming into the marketplace, right? How are they different? Are they adopting some of these new things you're talking about? Are they more receptive than some of the people who've been doing it the same way for so long?
You know, it's interesting. I have my go-to colleagues, the colleagues in medicine, and as soon as ChatGPT hit, there were some health systems that were like, no, absolutely not. Everyone's using it on their iPhone or iPad, and
Yeah,
it's trying to scale and get as quickly to an answer as possible. I
yeah.
understand the safest of ways. There's definitely more openness to digital, to innovation, and meeting patients where they are, and also delivering care in a culturally sensitive manner where
Mm.
how do you translate? How do you meet individuals of different cultures? Where I did not see that perhaps 10 years prior, where it was much more paternalistic.
Gonna have to put you in touch with my friend Jasmine, who's got the company called Avaz. They do translation in 62 different languages. I mean, it's madness. So it's the same issue, We've always done it this way. We just call someone and a nurse comes over, like, hello, technology these days.
That's right. That's right. Definitely appreciate any connections you always have. They're
Yeah.
always wonderful.
Any last words, Suchi, before we let this young lady go conquer the world?
Yeah, no. Well, again, thanks, Grace, for how you show up. I think the biggest learning for me is it's not just about technology. It's listening is as important, right? And how do you make sure that that listening is then fed back into the tools and technologies that we're building? So thank you for walking the talk. As always,
Great.
really
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Thank you, Grace, for all you do and for all of the work you have done and will continue to do. We are massive fans and supporters, so keep us
Mhm.
in mind anytime you need any help from us.
Absolutely. Thank you both for having me. Love walking the walk with you both.
Excellent. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye bye.
Uh,